function research, specifically labeled as a bioterrorism and bioweapon platform technology. Described as such. That's not my terminology that I'm applying to it. It was actually described as a bioweapons platform technology in 2005.
Yeah, and my son was supposedly not vaccinated in the year 2020. I say supposedly because my daddy told me that he was not vaccinated. And now today, this evening, my daddy tells me that my son was vaccinated. So what is true and what is not true? And what worries me that I had a dream, and I have had that dream several times, the same exact dream. And it scares me, that dream, about me telling my father how much I love him, and my father don't answer me. And then at the same time, while I sit with my father and tell my father how much I love him, then I see, like in a vision, that my son is just floating around in a river, among nature, in a river, like he was already dead. So I don't know if my son is alive or dead, because I haven't seen him for many years now. And all this misinformation that I get and unclear answers. Was he vaccinated or was he not vaccinated? And I'm sitting trying to find out about, because just now I told my father that if he got vaccinated, then he might not have a long lifespan, because I saw a professor, doctor professor, specialized in the COVID. She was talking about, and in these AI times, it can be difficult to distinguish which is a true video and which is not a true video, right? But my dreams used to be pretty exact about many things going on in society. So that dream might be a warning. But that professor was saying something about that after the COVID-19 vaccine, you only have 5 years. And I told my father about it, that maybe my son will only have 1 year left. Me, I don't have anything to say if they vaccinate my child or not, because they have taken all my human rights from me. Actually, I have the human rights, but they just don't respect my human rights in my home country. And so he got vaccinated several times, right? Because I didn't give him the vaccine. I didn't drag him through the vaccination program. I already knew what it was about. So I didn't want it to be part of my life and influence my child. But listen to this speech here, and I was just seeing that video about that professor by coincidence, and but now I sit tonight and do a little research for maybe 1 hour, and I can't find that video again. I can't find that video again about that professor. It's like when I search for her, then I don't get videos about a female professor that claims that people would die after the 5 years if they had that COVID-19 vaccine. Let's see what this man have to say. And I've seen this video before, for I think 1 year ago. I'm not sitting with this every day. It's not like I sit and indulge fear in myself for these matters. But I have common sense, right? And I think that I've always thought that vaccines cannot be healthy for the body, and that we have the perfect immune system, that we should not try to be weaken it so that our like immune system have that we should not substitute our natural immune system with something synthetic, something artificial, right? And that is what they are doing. They cannot deny that that is what they're doing.
From 2005 onwards, it was actually a biowarfare enabling agent, its official classification from 2005 forward. I don't know if that sounds like public health to you. Does it? Biological warfare enabling technology. That feels like not public health. That feels like not medicine. That feels like a weapon designed to take out humanity. That's what it feels like. And it feels like that because that's exactly what it is. We have been lured into believing that EcoHealth Alliance and DARPA and all of these organizations.
The truth scares people, and that's why they just dismiss it as not true, right?
Are what we should be pointing to.
But instead of being scared of the truth, you should understand the truth and then do something about it. But people are just following blind in our society. And that is also why I think democracy is useless. We need somebody with a pure heart that want to protect humanity and give everybody a chance to live this beautiful life with the knowledge that there's a lot of land out there, so we don't need to depopulate anything on Earth.
Specifically requested to ignore the facts that over $10 billion have been funneled through
that a person with a pure heart should rule and have the allowance to rule without anybody else to interfere with the process, right? Because such a dictatorship, if it's done by me, for example, would be a good dictatorship, right? It's only dangerous when a bad person is in charge.
Operations through the check of Anthony Fauci and a side-by-side ledger where NIAID has a balance sheet and next to it is a biodefense balance sheet equivalent dollar-for-dollar matching that no one in the media talks about.
Democracy cannot take intelligent, good, quick decisions. Democracy is ineffective, and most likely it will make many mistakes because of the common people do not necessarily have the required awareness about many things, right? Whereas a queen or a king, a dictator who is spending all his life doing research and want to know the truth, because that is what make you into a queen or a king, that you feel this responsibility within your heart, right? And when you feel a responsibility for all people within your heart and are a truth seeker and care about the truth more than anything else, because you know that the truth is more worth than gold, diamond, and anything in this life. When you value the truth like that and have a good heart that don't want to harm anything in existence, then you can call yourself what? A king or a queen. But that is not how we determine that label, right? But that is how it's supposed to be determined.
And it's been going on since 2005.
These vaccines should never been allowed in the first place, right? So it's just one big crime against humanity, as I've always told you that it is. And it is a crazy world with crazy people, everything that is just very chaotic nowadays. And it shouldn't be like this. We have a brain, and we have a hard brain. and we are intelligent creatures, but there is also a lot of stupidity going on, and I just wonder why are people governing other people into madness.
Our gain of function moratorium, the moratorium that was supposed to freeze any efforts to do gain of function research. Conveniently, in the fall of 2014, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill received a letter from NIAID saying that while the gain of function moratorium on coronavirus in vivo should be suspended, because their grants had already been funded, they received an exemption. Did you hear what I just said? A biological weapons lab facility at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, received an exemption from the gain of function moratorium so that by 2016 we could publish the journal article that said SARS coronavirus is poised for human emergence in 2016. And what, you might ask, Dave, was the coronavirus poised for human emergence? It was WIV1, Wuhan Institute of Virology Virus 1. Poised for human emergence in 2016 at the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, such that by the time we get to 2017 and 2018, the following phrase entered into common parlance among the community. There is going to be an accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen. The operative word, obviously, in that phrase, the word release. Does that sound like leak? Does that sound...
Another thing that has been discovered is that it's very dangerous for young boys to have this vaccine because their hearts become bigger. They have got enlarged hearts, which is very dangerous. And besides that, they get a kind of chronic scar within their heart. And they can get blood clutter. They can die from this vaccine. And I just wonder if that information is real information or is information to scare people, the hell out of people so they don't take the vaccine anymore, which is good. But it's just not a... It's just like I would rather choose to tell people the truth and the truth only than scare people into doing something that is good for them, right? But nowadays, that is what most people think is legitimate, that such behavior. I'm not sure if people die after the 5 years, but I think that if they don't detox, maybe it can most likely happen. And I think that I should take my dreams very seriously, because it's just like I'm not in a power position that I can do anything about it, right? I cannot say don't vaccinate my child, because that they do whatever I say, tell them not to do, they do always. They always go against my will. Since the governmental kidnapping of my child. So I have nothing to say. I can just look at it as a helpless individual, as a suppressed mother, and it's just a weird situation to be in, right? Knowing the truth, want to protect your child against the dangerous vaccines, and then not be able to do it.
Like a bat and a pangolin went into a bar in the Wuhan market and hung out and had sex, and lo and behold, we got SARS-CoV-2? No. Accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen was the terminology used, and 4 times in April of 2019, 7 months before the allegation of patient number 1, 4 patent applications of Moderna were modified to include the term accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen as the justification for making a vaccine for a thing that did not exist.
Listen, the best thing we have, our human bodies have, is our senses and our emotion, right? Because that is what we use when we want to know something, if it's true or if it's not true. Without our senses, without our emotions in our hearts, it's very difficult to determine whether or not something is true. But people nowadays are so traumatized, I think, by their childhoods, that they don't know how to judge between good and bad anymore, and people are also very naive, and then we have people that are just ignoring the truth because the truth is too much for them to handle. And then we have the cowards that know the truth and wish they could do something about it, but can't do anything about it, because they choose not to want to do anything about it because they're scared, right? And then we have ignorant people who just ignore every kind of a problem in society because that's more easy. They think to do that is more easy, but that is also a kind of those who are so ignorant is also very weird. Most of them are not ignorant, they just have evil hearts. They don't want to participate, bringing awareness and put a stop to the bad things going on in our world.
Keep going. If you have not done so, please make sure that you make reference in every investigation to the premeditation nature of this, because it was in September of 2019 that the world was informed that we were going to have an accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen, so that by September 2020, there would be a worldwide acceptance of a universal vaccine template. That's their words, right in front of you on the screen. The intent was to get the world to accept a universal vaccine template, and the intent was to use coronavirus to get there.
But you cannot tell a population that you govern to choose a certain vaccine or a certain way of curing themselves. But you can teach them. If you're a good government, then you cannot act like that. You cannot suppress people's free will and their own will over and you have to give them free will to decide whether or not they want this kind of treatment or another kind of treatment. And there are many different ways to look at this COVID-19, and there are many different scientists involved, and they have their own opinion about it. So I think that freedom concerning that we can have the freedom to rule our own bodies, right? We don't need authorities to tell us there's only this cure and that is the COVID-19, and we don't accept any other treatment. And that is a very evil kind of dictatorship, where those who have developed that kind of treatment benefits, and those who have other treatments that would work just fine, like to strengthen our common health with a better food, access to better food, or access to natural medicine that can strengthen our immune system, so we don't need to fear COVID-19, which is a virus, or any other kinds of bacteria virus, right? Or health experts that have discovered ways to heal our society with frequencies, for example. But all those things are not allowed by our governments nowadays. Only one kind of frequency that is actually harmless for the body is allowed. So there's something terrible wrong going on in our society, and people with common sense are not afraid to realize it, but not all people have power to do anything about it. You have all decided to not give me any power. Right? You look down upon me. I never finished my education. I'm just somebody that you don't want to see succeed in life, and everybody who come into my life just want to tell me I'm a nobody and try to rule over me, or try to somehow belittle me or abuse me, or somehow just see if I can agree on on this kind of power play, that I'm under them and they are in charge of any, and that this just the people always strive, they can manipulate with me, and I'm tired of it, and I think they are stupid that they cannot see and feel that I'm beyond all that shit. I don't want to allow those kind of things in my life. So they keep trying, and why are they keep trying? No matter who I meet, why they keep trying to belittle me? I think it's strange behavior, and I think it's weird. It's starting to get so weird that I just think that I should not give any people a chance to get close to my heart anymore. I should not give my heart to anybody anymore, because people have proven to be all the same. When they're together with me, something bad shit happens within them, and then they just need to destroy me, my reputation, and everything. And I don't know why. And I don't care anymore. Okay, I really don't care anymore. I think it's a pity that you have all decided and have the same attitude against me, and that you have decided not to give me a chance in life to feel loved, accepted, and this and that. But okay, that's how it is. Fuck all of you. I don't care anymore. I'm happy about spending all my time alone. And I'm also happy about doing my job for what I consider to be a love almighty, a Mother Nature almighty. And I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. Nevertheless, no matter how you see me or how much you gossip behind my back about me.
And the last slide. This is an advancing.
Try to convince other people that they should not engage with me and not be a loyal friend to me.
If I could
That
have
is
somebody.
truly what's going on, and has been going on all my life. And no, no human can continue have something to do with people if people are all like that. And I'm not lying about it. It's really, really what's going on, and I'm just done. I'm done with it now. I want to love myself and focus on myself only. I don't have more time to waste on people, and I have all reasons to focus on myself and myself only.
You do it. Let's read this, because we have to read this into the record everywhere.
Because I have intentions to make my life happy more than, and I don't need any people in my life who don't have those intentions of being together with me for those kinds of reasons to make my life better.
Go. Until an infectious disease crisis is very real, present, and at the emergency threshold, it is often largely ignored. To sustain the funding base beyond the crisis, he said, we need to increase the public understanding for the need for medical countermeasures such as a pan-influenza or pan-coronavirus vaccine. A key driver is the media, and the economics will follow the hype. We need to use that hype to our advantage to get to the real issues. Investors will respond if they see profit at the end of the process. Sounds like public health?
No, it doesn't sound like public health, because it's not public health. And people have to wake up to common sense.
Sounds like the best of humanity? No, ladies and gentlemen, this was premeditated domestic terrorism stated at the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2015, published in front of them. This is an act of biological and chemical warfare perpetrated.
And that's exactly why Trump, he don't want to work together with the World Health Organization. That is common sense. Nothing but common sense. And the democracy cannot achieve anything nowadays, because they are not probably aware and informed by these matters. Isn't it so?
On the human race, and it was admitted to in writing that this was a financial heist and a financial fraud. Investors will follow if they see profit at the end of the process. Let me conclude by making 5 very brief recommendations. The last slide. Nature was hijacked. This whole story started in 1965 when we decided to hijack a natural model and decide to start manipulating it. Science was hijacked when the only questions that could be asked were questions authorized under the patent protection of the CDC, the FDA, the NIH, and their equivalent organizations around the world.
You see, that is how they control natural science, and that is why the natural science available to common people has just become so outdated and old-fashioned and nonsense.
Have independent science, we had hijacked science. And unfortunately, there was no moral oversight in violation of all of the codes that we stand for. There was no independent, financially disinterested, independent review board ever impaneled around coronavirus, not once. Not once.
Yes, and that's true, because if you do a little research, then you can also see how the prime minister for that World Health Organization and the COVID-19 vaccine program, that he don't know anything about any of these research. He have not seen any proof of any research on the subject that the common sense would require for studying to vaccinate people for COVID-19.
Not since 1965. We do not have a single independent IRB ever impaneled.
It was very, very important, I think, to take my child away from me, because I was already aware of how harmful the vaccination program can be, and also because I told people, don't be dependent on a system to cure your diseases. That's a very dangerous thing. Don't compromise with your immune system. Don't let people change your immune system, because that is what biologists have discovered about these vaccine programs, that they alter our DNA and they change our immune system so that our immune system cannot work as it was supposed to do.
Coronavirus. So morality.
And because I gave this information, then they wanted to stop me. That is one of hundreds of reasons why they wanted to target me and spoil my reputation and make sure that nobody dares to cooperate with me on making music. I was also making music back then, right?
Was suspended.
I was even told by somebody working in the music industry in my city that if I found 2 persons who could play instruments, then I could already go out and earn money with the songs that I had written. At that point of time, I was playing piano and had been written 35 songs. My own songs, right? They were not perfect songs, but in my opinion, I write much better songs today than back then. You know, those songs that I can write nowadays, I have taught myself how to make songs, and I was taught in the high school how to compose music, and then I just started when my boy was small to compose while he was in kindergarten. And then I was just been autodidact, teaching myself, because I didn't have the mindset to sit on a school bench. I wanted to teach myself.
Countermeasures. And ultimately, humanity was lost because we decided to allow it to happen. Our job today is to say no more gain-of-function research, period.
I think with the problems of my spine and my bones, I have problems with my bones from a traffic accident when I was 4.5 years old in the mountains here in Tanzania. that is actually making it impossible for me to go through education. But teaching myself what is most important in order to make a song is something else that I can do, right? But when it comes to me, people always expect something else from me, and they don't really treat me as a human being. Like, I don't meet any people with compassion for my situation and understanding for my situation.
No
It's
more.
like I follow other rules. And maybe it's because people can sense that I'm the oracle of this life. But if not, then I don't understand why this life doesn't give me a chance for meeting a person with compassion and belief in me, who can be supportive with all that nonsense behavior of wanting to belittle me and put me under them and rule me in their own weird, narcissistic, stupid way.
Weaponization of nature, period. And most importantly, no more corporate patronage of science for their own self-interest unless they assume 100% product liability for every injury and every death that they maintain. Thank you very much.
And they don't do that, and that is a big mistake. Let's hear it in its full length without me speaking anything.
Specifically labeled as a bioterrorism and bioweapon platform technology.
And I want to say one thing more. Denmark have to give me Denmark. Because what I have suffered and gone through, what I have lost in this life because of bad judgment, because of incompetence in our system, because of, I have to call them evil people with evil hearts and evil minds and bad intentions for my life and my son's life. They have told me everything about what he's going through. He told me when he was 8 years old. He told me, Mom, they're teaching me about Satanism. Mom, they want me to do, I'm doing favors for the Satan. And then the Satan will show me heaven. It was just about going to heaven and die, because he needed to do all those bad things for bad people to serve Satan. Then this powerful Satan, much more powerful than his mother that is just powerless in society, could show him, open the gateway to heaven, which is death for him, because there was nothing to live for without his mom, right? And that is the spirit that they educate him in, having that kind of spirit. And to be dragged into this kind of stuff is unbearable, actually. But still, I'm a strong spirit and I have to go through it, right? But I didn't want to get it so close to my life. But they target people, good people like me, because they know that I could have brought up my son and given him all the knowledge that he needed about life, all the self-confidence, had taught him how to play piano, taught him how to make his own songs in an early age. He was already making art pieces he was ready for exhibition, to go to the gallery and sell his things. Right? I knew, but I was living in a society that didn't knew what I could do with a 5-year-old, and people were looking down at me, thinking that I was just believing and convincing themselves and convincing others and gossiping, evil gossip behind my back, and wanted to believe, knowing that it was not true, but just wanted to believe that I didn't have the qualities that they saw in me. Because it's not true that people cannot see those qualities in me. But they wanted to convince themselves and others that I didn't have those qualities to bring up the best in a child, right? So what they have done to me, all the suffering, I want Denmark, and because I've waited so long now to get my son back, and so many people has been witnessing my story without helping, right? I don't have the money to do anything, and so many people has just turned the blind cheek to my situation with a governmental kidnapped child. So you are all to be blamed. So I want to govern the world as an article. I don't want revenge on anybody. I don't want to punish anybody, but I want you to surrender to my government, because it's very clear that you have not included me in society as you should, and you have not given me a chance. And for that, I have not only the intention to get justice by getting Denmark as my piece of land in this world, but I want the whole world now, because my relationship to my son is destroyed because of all this shit, right? I know how to value being a mother. I know how to value it. And it's called something very beautiful, a beautiful word in Danish, compensation for what I have suffered, what he have suffered, and what we have lost. And what we have lost is so valuable, because I'm the article of this life, that there's no excuse anymore for not giving me what I want in return for what you have taken from me, which is everything. Everything that is most important for me. I love my child, right? And he used to love me, but I'm not so sure anymore, because people are telling him, convincing him, scaring him away from me, and convincing him I'm a bad person who have to learn a lot of things about life, you have to become a better person. I don't know in regard to what. Nobody can compete with me in being a good person. I don't accept any excuses anymore for not letting me rule this world and the universe, because I see that the aliens also have their agendas that is against humanity and the best for humanity, right? We have to live in harmony with all these kind of beings, but they also need to be under my government, or it would never ever become women-friendly environment and respect our biological nature. And it will never be queendoms with men who understand their role in society, that their role is not to belittle women and look down on their sexuality, because their sexuality is sacred. We are the gateway between life and death, reincarnation. And those men, they are young souls, and they need to go to school now, because they have proven that their hatred for women goes so deep, because they're immature souls that have not yet graduated in this life and become reincarnated into a human female body. Synthetic and artificial reincarnation cannot resolve our problems in this world. Only Mother Nature, giving birth naturally, can bring order and peace and arrange society so that women rule over a lot of men, can bring peace. Men and women in between each other, like a big chaos of confusion, can only create prejudice, racism, and many religious fights. But to make woman and love and the life giver and her sexuality into a belief system, a philosophy, and a religion, with the article as a government, so that the men are not scared of letting a woman rule their city, village, is what can bring peace and harmony into our world. And that can be our system, natural Mother Nature system. There should not be any other kind of Mother Nature system than that. And I don't allow anybody else to rule, because I don't trust anybody else to rule. I've seen what men and women in this world are capable of. And it's not a coincidence how you're ignoring me, how scared you are for participate in my dream cream regime, tea and coffee, religion. It's not a coincidence how ignorant you are. It's not a coincidence that you didn't grab the big possibility within the danger and crisis that it is for me to get my son kidnapped by the very same forces that are making chaos out of life, right? It's not a coincidence. It's all because that I'm the link to everything in life. If you mistreat me, you will have chaos. If you allow me to rule, there will not be chaos.
Described as such. That's not my terminology that I'm applying to it. It was actually described as a bioweapons platform technology in 2005. And from 2005 onwards, it was actually a biowarfare enabling agent, its official classification from 2005 forward. I don't know if that sounds like public health to you. Does it? Biological warfare enabling technology. That feels like not public health. That feels like not medicine. That feels like a weapon designed to take out humanity. That's what it feels like. And it feels like that because that's exactly what it is. We have been lured into believing that EcoHealth Alliance and DARPA and all of these organizations...
People don't know how powerful they are. They think that they cannot do anything about this. And so they do nothing. And then let the supermen and superwomen do everything. But this problem is a problem that you need to participate in resolving by choosing carefully who you give power. You give your power away now to the wrong people, to the wrong leaders, and the wrong kings and queens, and the wrong pharaohs, and the wrong done for all history. You have chosen the wrong men and women to rule. Now is upon time that you choose me to rule, so that we can bring our natural state of being human back to reality.
Are what we should be pointing to, but we've been specifically requested to ignore the facts that over $10 billion have been funneled through black operations through the check of Anthony Fauci and a side-by-side ledger where NIAID has a balance sheet and next to it is a biodefense balance sheet equivalent dollar-for-dollar matching that no one in the media talks about.
They're making us into biological robots that they can control. If you can control the person's biological immune system, then that person have no freedom of will anymore. As a matter of fact, and I told you about this many years ago, before 2014, when my son got kidnapped.
And it's been going on since 2000.
Nobody wanted to listen. Nobody wanted to support that argument.
And 5.
Everybody was ignoring my warnings.
Gain-of-function moratorium. The moratorium that was supposed to freeze any efforts to do gain-of-function research. Conveniently, in the fall of 2014, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill received a letter from NIAID saying that while the gain-of-function moratorium on coronavirus in vivo should be suspended, because their grants had already been funded, they received an exemption. Did you hear what I just said?
And another big mistake is how you turn the world map upside down and say now we create United Africa. You never, United Nations of Africa. Nobody ever turned the world map upside down before I did it. Nobody talked about it. Nobody showed the whole world this idea. And you copy, paste my idea, and you get a lot of credit from everybody, and you get a lot of support on your supposed ideas that came from me. You steal my ideas and you don't even mention my name. That is hate crime against me. You steal my oeuvre that I created, that words. I'm not even entitled to keep that oeuvre as an artistic creation of mine. You open a bar in Brazil, a Brazil. I'm reduced to be a Brazil that you can just steal from and get away with it because you know I'm poor and you know everybody in society, inclusive my government, make sure that I will be poor forever. Isn't it so? Oeuvre is Mother Nature, my oracle. Oeuvre was created and could only be created by me because what I went through that period. And God blessed me as an oracle by calling my oracle and Mother Nature oeuvre. The voice of Mother Nature is oeuvre, of course. Her name cannot be anything else. When you draw those letters, it is a woman with hats. And why a hat? Because we don't want the black anger to rule. And why a hat? Because we want my oracle to rule. Because we want a hat to rule. Right? And her breast is the B, and the R is her stomach, and the A is her dress. And why am I white-skinned? Because I come from within the earth and have a remembrance, not something that I read in a book or anything, of living inside the earth before I was reincarnated into this body. And I have a remembrance of being Anne-Marie Mortensen Lauritsen and being married to the supposedly famous shoemaker that has just been forgotten, or what? By everybody in Denmark has been forgotten. Who lived with me in exile in Denmark, having 10 kids, working as a shoemaker. We don't need black people to rule anything because black people have done enough in order to rule, and they have ruled badly. They blame white people for everything that they have done. They have done it themselves. They have turned the world map upside down themselves. Right? And they have camouflaged how big Africa really is so that they can become many, many, many. You know, Africans give birth to many children so that they can become many, many, many. And then they can enter Europe and also claim Europe to be theirs. They're using narcissistic war tactic against white people. They are making up lies about our history. They are blaming white men for everything. They are targeting with narcissistic war tools and lies about our history, targeting white man's self-worth. They are manipulating with white people. They want us to disappear from the surface of this earth. We come from within the world where there's a rainbow sun. They say we are of a certain Jacob, we come from Jacob or something like that, and we are all evil. Jakob. And my religion is about what kind of cup? Tea and coffee cup. To heal our bodies with the tea that we are drinking and sitting down, have real conversations in a cozy, around a cozy table, in a cozy atmosphere, and talking truths and daring to talk the truths, but in an environment where we can feel safe and loved, and where it doesn't matter if our skin are dark brown or yellow brown or red brown, tea or coffee brown or whatever color brown. And that idea has also been stolen by Elikio, the Christ. I don't know if he is still in jail for being very cruel to his women and suppress them very, very much. But it is supposedly his idea now. It came from him. And I was not sitting and writing ideas to him all the time, but my name is not mentioned just once in his teaching material, because I'm the invisible nobody that everybody see and everybody wants to destroy, because they cannot have an oracle to rule. Why is it that you cannot have an oracle to rule? Why? When it's your only way to survive, you would rather die and see what Satanism is about, and how the world can be even more evil than this, with a world, one world government ruled by satanistic elite people who don't wish you well. You need to dive deeper into the pain, right? Before you can accept my oracle to come rescue you. You don't want to go further with this. I tell you guys and Gaianas, now is upon time to change direction and let me rule society and bring power back to women and health care back to women.
A biological weapons lab facility at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, received an exemption from the gain-of-function moratorium so that by 2016 we could publish the journal article that said SARS coronavirus is poised for human emergence in 2016. And what, you might ask, Dave, was the coronavirus poised for human emergence? It was WIV1. Wuhan Institute of Virology Virus 1. Poised for human emergence in 2016 at the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences.
And it doesn't matter that it started in China. It doesn't matter at all, because we have a common enemy and God knows who it is. Our own ignorance and stupidness have led us to this chaotic society, right? Because people are not acting in accordance to what is their best and is ignoring my article continuously, right? You cannot blame me for your birth. You cannot blame women for your birth. You cannot blame life and say life is evil. You can only blame yourself for contributing to making this life into an evil place. It's supposed to be a happy place. It's supposed to be the best place. It's supposed to be a beautiful place, aesthetic place, with pleasure, intelligence, common sense, and love, a Mother Nature wild and beautiful, and women in charge.
That by the time we get to 2017 and 2018, the following phrase entered into common parlance among the community. There is going to be an accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen. The operative word, obviously, in that phrase, the word release. Does that sound like leak? Does that sound like a bat and a pangolin went into a bar in the Wuhan market and hung out and had sex, and lo and behold, we got SARS-CoV-2? No. Accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen was the terminology used, and 4 times in April of 2019, 7 months before the allegation of patient number 1, 4 patent applications of Moderna were modified to include the term accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen as the justification for making a vaccine for a thing that did not exist. Keep going.
And it has also been proven that these vaccines, I think 75% of people who had these vaccines, 75% of people who died of corona died from the vaccine.
If you have not done so, please make sure that you make reference in every investigation to the premeditation nature of this, because it was in September of 2019 that the world was informed that we were going to have an accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen so that by September 2020, there would be a worldwide acceptance of a universal vaccine template. That's their words, right in front of you on the screen.
We need to love the vision of making a world that prefers love above any other religion, and that focus on love. And what is love? Love is intelligence, love is common sense, and love is woman, and love is my oracle, loving all people in existence. That is what people need, that is what people truly want. But people goes against my oracle is very, very stupid. It's very, very self-destructive.
The intent was to get the world to accept a universal vaccine template, and the intent was to use coronavirus to get there. And the last slide. This isn't advancing, so if I could have somebody do it. Let's read this, because we have to read this into the record everywhere I go.
No, you want to have a microchip, and then you want in your brain, and then you want to be able to do all kinds of things, talking 10, 12, 100 different kind of languages. Listen, that is not love. That is artificial intelligence. But it's not love. It's nothing to do with Mother Nature biology, way of heart intelligence. Because when you get intelligent, the heart needs to process every word in its own tempo. It needs to feel, and not only feel, it needs to use all the human senses in the process of learning. That is a slow process, not something that you can just have a microchip and then you suddenly know everything and everything about love. Love is more important to know about than to know 100 different languages and be governed by something superior, governed by a robot or whatever. And that is what's going to happen if we become biological robots, which many people already are. Me, I don't have nanotechnology within my body with all that nicotine that I have been smoking. I can assure you of that.
Until an infectious disease crisis is very real, present, and at the emergency threshold that is often largely ignored.
Me, I was never vaccinated with this COVID-19. I escaped my country in 2020, October month. And if I got the vaccination, Then I got it without me knowing it, without my acceptance, right? And I have had multiple problems with many things since they last imprisoned me in one of their institutional environments where I could just sit and look into a white wall. Against my will, against common sense. I was not a harm to anybody in society, but they don't want me to have any kind of success. And if they notice the slightest opening to me having some success, then they start to think, how can we destroy that? But here in Tanzania, they cannot reach me. They cannot reach me here. They cannot do me any harm. Right?
To sustain
People don't want to do me harm here. Black people has had enough of all the nonsense going on, and they have more common sense in regard to they don't want these vaccines in this country. They don't want it. And they don't want nonsense to rule. They don't want us to become biological robots. They don't want the mark of the beast. They don't want all this nonsense. They actually want love to rule and common sense to rule, but they are so angry about many things, right? And they are so angry that they have become racist. But those with education and who are within the system of Tanzania, they don't have any bad intentions. They don't want to harm me. And don't tell me that I'm not protected here. For 5 years, there have not been anybody within the system that have forced anything upon me in this country. It has only been boyfriends and husbands that have tried to ruin my life, right? But they haven't ruined it for me because they can't, because I have common sense, right? And because I have the word in my power. And because people listen to me in this country and they don't judge me as not being intelligent, as not telling the truth. They judge me fairly and not with nonsense, prejudice, and evil intentions of harming me.
funding base beyond the crisis, he said. We need to increase the public understanding for the need for medical countermeasures such as a pan-influenza or pan-coronavirus vaccine. A key driver is the media, and the economics will follow the hype.
And who owns the media, right? It doesn't really matter who owns it. We can just recognize that the media is not telling the truth. The media have a very clear agenda to camouflage the truth for the population. My article would never ever try to govern like that. Because that is not a truthful way to govern. That is not love. That is not motherhood. And what we need to govern nowadays is a mother. And that is connected to my article, because my article is a feeling of being the mother of life. It's a feeling within the heart, right? To be government is a feeling without the heart, within the heart. It's not about power position in society. It's not about how much money you have, but it's a feeling within the heart, and that feeling is here with me, and nothing can compete with it.
To use that hype to our advantage to get to the real issues. Investors will respond if they see profit at the end of the process. Sounds like public health? Sounds like the best of humanity? No, ladies and gentlemen, this was premeditated domestic terrorism stated at the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2015, published in front of them. This is an act of biological and chemical warfare perpetrated on the human race, and it was admitted to in writing that this was a financial heist and a financial fraud. Investors will follow if they see profit at the end of the process. Let me conclude by making 5 very brief recommendations. The last slide. Nature was hijacked. This whole story started in 1965 when we decided to hijack a natural model and decide to start manipulating it. Science was hijacked when the only questions that could be asked were questions authorized under the patent protection of the CDC, the FDA, the NIH, and their equivalent organizations around the world. We didn't have independent science. We had hijacked science. And unfortunately, there was no moral oversight in violation of all of the codes that we stand for. There was no independent, financially disinterested, independent review board ever impaneled around coronavirus, not once. Not once. Not since 1965. We do not have a single independent IRB ever impaneled around coronavirus. So morality was suspended for medical countermeasures. And ultimately, humanity was lost because we decided to allow it to happen. Our job today is to say, no more gain-of-function research, period. No more weaponization of nature, period. And most importantly, no more corporate patronage of science for their own self-interest unless they assume 100% product liability for every injury and every death that they maintain. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that is just words. And it requires a lot of action upon this wisdom, knowledge, truth, right? It requires that people understand my value in society, that I has been aware of this always, and that you need to surrender to my oracle, and then we can make sure that all this shit will never ever happen again. We will not be manipulated with, and you will be keeping me alive, because I'm being slow killed by your ignorance. And now I need to charge my phone and stop this video.